It began with the smell of fresh grass on a busy street. People thought it was a small gardening shop. No one guessed that under the green turf and bags of soil, a dark tunnel stretched toward one of Brazil's largest banks. For 3 months, men worked day and night, moving dirt by hand, hiding their sweat with friendly smiles. Then, one weekend in August 2005, they reached the vault. By Monday, $70 million in cash was gone, the largest bank heist in Brazil's history. The thieves vanished, leaving only an empty hole and a stunned nation. How did they do it? Where did the money go? Stay tuned and subscribe now to @MysteryPlaybacksSeries. The Monday morning sun poured over the city of Fortaleza. Bank workers unlocked the Banco Central branch as they always did. The air was warm, humid. Nothing seemed unusual until a manager reached the main vault. The steel door opened. The air inside was still, but the floor was empty. The cash stacks, gone. In their place was a dark hole leading into the earth. Phones rang. Police cars screamed down the street. News crews gathered. Soon, the whole city knew someone had stolen more than 160 million Brazilian reais, about $70 million, without firing a single shot. Weeks earlier, a small rental property near the bank opened as a landscaping business called Grama Sintética, synthetic grass. Its windows displayed green turf and bags of soil. Customers saw smiling men in work uniforms. But behind a false wall, a tunnel was taking shape, lit by electric lamps, reinforced with wood, fitted with ventilation fans. For 3 months, a team of 6 to 10 men worked in secret, hauling dirt out in small trucks. They disguised their movements as regular business deliveries. Every day, the tunnel crept closer to the bank's concrete foundation. By the time they finished, it stretched more than 250 feet underground, a feat of planning and engineering. The gang chose the weekend of August 6th to 7th, 2005, when the bank would be closed. They broke into the vault floor from below, bypassing alarms and security cameras. Inside, they filled bags with cash, 50 real notes bundled in bricks. The weight was massive, but they carried it all through the tunnel to their shop. By the time the bank reopened Monday, the store had been abandoned. The thieves had vanished with the money. Brazil's federal police launched one of the largest manhunts in the country's history. They collected fingerprints, interviewed neighbors, and traced rental records for the shop. Within days, they had suspects. Members of a known gang involved in other robberies. But catching them was another story. Many of the suspects disappeared. Others were found dead, killed by rival criminals over disputes about splitting the loot. Only a small fraction of the money was ever recovered. Police found cash hidden in houses, buried in backyards, and stuffed in suitcases. Rumors spread that some of the money was laundered through car dealerships, casinos, and foreign banks. The heist became legend in Brazil, admired for its precision, feared for its boldness. Want to know how police tracked down the men behind the greatest bank heist in Brazil? Stay with us, and subscribe now to @MysteryPlaybacksSeries. As investigators pieced together the crime, the tunnel itself became the first major clue. Forensic teams measured its size, 78 centimeters wide, 1.2 meters high, reinforced with wood planks and plastic sheeting to prevent collapses. The thieves had installed lights every few meters, a ventilation system to keep air circulating, and even a pulley system to move the cash. This wasn't amateur work, it was engineering. Local geologists said the soil in Fortaleza was dense clay, meaning the gang had to use shovels, pickaxes, and small drills for months to advance. To avoid noise complaints, they worked mainly during business hours, blending the sounds of digging with normal street noise. Police traced the rental contract of the synthetic grass shop to a man named Luis Fernando Ribeiro, known in criminal circles for large-scale robberies. Surveillance photos from earlier months showed several other men frequenting the store, including Antonio Jussivan Alves dos Reis, later dubbed the big boss of the heist. But by the time warrants were issued, Ribeiro and many others had fled. Some headed to Sao Paulo, others reportedly left Brazil entirely. The case now stretched into multiple states and international jurisdictions. Federal police believe the heist involved at least 25 people: diggers, drivers, lookouts, planners, and money launderers. The leader allegedly organized the crew into shifts, each working 6 to 8 hours underground. The operation required food, water, tools, fuel for generators, and constant secrecy. Neighbors recall trucks loaded with dirt leaving the shop at night, always covered with black tarps. They assumed it was landscaping debris. No one suspected millions in cash would pass through the same doors. The first major arrest came 2 weeks after the heist, when police raided a rural property and found over 5 million reais buried in plastic bags. 2 men were captured, and their confessions linked them to the gang. They revealed that fights had already broken out over the division of the money, and that some members feared being killed by their own partners. By late 2005, at least 6 people connected to the robbery had been murdered, often execution style. Police suspected that rival gangs were hunting the thieves for a share of the loot. This violent aftermath became almost as notorious as the heist itself. Even those arrested rarely spoke openly. Fear of retaliation kept many silent. We've seen how the perfect plan unfolded, but how much of the $70 million was ever found? And what happened to the so-called big boss? Keep watching, the answers will shock you. While several members of the gang were behind bars, Antonio Josevan Alves dos Reis, the alleged mastermind, was nowhere to be found. Federal police issued an Interpol red notice, alerting countries across South America. Rumors placed him in Paraguay, then in Argentina, and later back in Brazil, but each lead went cold. It was clear he had deep criminal connections. His aliases and forged documents made tracking him a nightmare. For months, the Brazilian media ran nightly segments asking the public to call in with tips, turning him into a household name. Out of the 164.7 million Brazilian reals stolen, roughly $70 million in 2005, less than 10% was ever recovered. Police believed much of it was laundered through car dealerships, real estate, and offshore accounts. Some cash was smuggled into neighboring countries, hidden in truck shipments or even in modified fuel tanks. Investigators discovered that some gang members had been paid in cash for their labor, but others had agreed to take their share later. Those later payments often ended in double crosses or murders. One critical lead came when a mid-level member of the gang, fearing for his life, approached police with a deal. In exchange for protection, he revealed details about the gang's chain of command and the location of a safe house. The raid on that safe house led to more arrests and another 2 million Brazilian reals seized. It also confirmed the gang had planned to use the tunnel method again, this time in another city, but abandoned the plan after the heat from Fortaleza. The scale of the heist captivated Brazil and the world. Newspapers dubbed it O Assalto do Século, the robbery of the century. True crime TV programs reenacted the events, while books and documentaries began to appear. The fact that the majority of the money had vanished into thin air only deepened the mystery. In 2008, nearly 3 years after the heist, police finally arrested Antonio Josevan in São Paulo. He was living quietly under a false identity, working through intermediaries to manage hidden assets. Despite his capture, the stolen fortune remained largely unrecovered. At his trial, prosecutors painted him as a man who thought like a businessman but operated like a cartel boss. He was sentenced to decades in prison, though appeals and legal maneuvers continued for years. To this day, police believe much of the money is still out there, hidden in walls, buried on farms, or locked away in secret bank accounts. And some members of the crew have never been caught. In the years after the robbery, the shadow of the heist followed every surviving gang member. Many lived on the run, unable to spend their money openly. Some met tragic ends, kidnapped, murdered, or betrayed by their own associates. Others faded into obscurity, living modest lives despite having touched millions in stolen cash. One gang member was found dead in his car with a suitcase full of money, a clear sign that the spoils of the heist brought more danger than freedom. The heist also became the subject of countless conspiracy theories. Some claimed corrupt officials helped the gang. Others believed the robbery was just a cover for laundering money from drug cartels. To this day, no solid proof of either theory has surfaced, but the secrecy surrounding certain police files keeps those rumors alive. This wasn't a movie or a fictional tale. This was a real event, August 2005, in Fortaleza, Brazil. Ordinary bank employees arrived at work to find their vault empty and the national economy shaken. It was a stark reminder that with enough planning and determination, even the most secure places can be breached. The true twist of the Fortaleza heist isn't just that so much money vanished. It's that the men who risked everything for that wealth ended up paying the price with their freedom, and sometimes their lives. But the biggest mystery remains, who's holding the rest of the $70 million today? Is it buried in the earth, or is it already circulating in the shadows of the world economy? If you found this story as shocking as we did, don't just stop here, hit that subscribe button, share this video with your friends, and tell us in the comments where you think the missing millions went. Subscribe now to @MysteryPlaybacksSeries.